Imagine walking into a bakery. You aren't holding a wallet, you are pushing a wheelbarrow piled high with cash. This isn't a heist, you are just trying to buy a single loaf of bread. Welcome to Germany in 1923. It was a world turned upside down, where children built kites out of banknotes and families burned currency in the stove to stay warm, simply because the paper was worth less than the firewood. This is the story of the day money died.
So, how did a modern nation spiral into this kind of madness? It began in the ashes of the Great War. Germany was defeated, exhausted, and handed a bill they simply couldn't pay. The Treaty of Versailles demanded massive reparations, payable in gold. The government, backed into a corner, made a fatal, seductive choice. They turned on the printing presses. They thought they could print their way out of debt, but instead, they were printing their way into oblivion.
Daily existence turned into a frantic race against the clock. If you were a factory worker in 1923, you didn't wait for a weekly paycheck. You demanded to be paid every day, sometimes twice a day. At noon, the factory whistle would shriek, and swarms of men would sprint to the gates where their families were waiting. They'd throw bundles of cash to their wives, who would immediately turn and run to the nearest shop. They had to run. If they waited until evening, the price of a simple liter of milk might have doubled. The situation produced scenes that sound like dark fables. There is a famous story of a man who hauled a wheelbarrow full of cash to the market just to buy groceries. He left it outside for a moment, and when he turned back, he found a thief had dumped the money on the street and stolen the wheelbarrow. The cart had value. The money was trash. Inside freezing homes, the logic was just as twisted. Families found that burning bundles of banknotes in the stove actually provided more heat than the firewood those notes could buy.
But beneath the absurdity lay a profound betrayal. Hyperinflation didn't just destroy the currency, it inverted morality. For generations, Germans had been taught that thrift was a virtue. You work hard, you save, you prepare. Suddenly, the savers were the fools. A lifetime of retirement funds couldn't buy a postage stamp. The winners were the reckless borrowers. Imagine taking out a massive loan to buy a farm, and a month later, paying off that entire debt by selling a single egg. The social contract simply evaporated.
The psychological strain was so severe that doctors actually diagnosed a new condition called zero stroke. It was a nervous breakdown caused by the sheer impossibility of calculating trillions for a cup of coffee. People simply couldn't comprehend the math anymore. By November, the system collapsed completely, with the exchange rate hitting 4.2 trillion marks to the dollar. Money ceased to be money. Germany reverted to a primitive barter economy, where you traded a pair of shoes for butter, or family heirlooms just to survive the winter.
Then, as quickly as the fever broke, it ended. In mid-November, the government introduced the Rentenmark. It was a psychological masterstroke, backed by the nation's land rather than gold. One new mark replaced 1 trillion old ones, and the printing presses finally fell silent. But the peace came at a terrible price. The savings of the middle class had been incinerated. That betrayal shattered faith in democracy, leaving a void of resentment that would soon be filled by dangerous men promising order.
Even today, if you look at Germany's strict economic policies, you are seeing the scar tissue of 1923. It remains a cultural trauma seared into the collective memory of the nation. But it also serves as a haunting reminder for the rest of us that money is nothing more than a story we all agreed to believe. When that faith shatters, civilization can unravel with terrifying speed. That was the lesson learned the hard way, the year the illusion broke, and a mountain of cash couldn't buy a single loaf of bread. It leaves us with an uncomfortable question to sleep on.
In an age of digital currency and global credit, are we truly immune to this kind of collapse? Or are we just better at hiding the cracks? I'd be curious to hear your take in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this glimpse into the past, please hit the like button and subscribe. It helps keep these stories alive. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next chapter. There is one final, chilling footnote to the story. At the very peak of the chaos in November 1923, a radical agitator fired a pistol into the ceiling of a Munich beer hall. He launched a failed coup, promising to save the nation from its economic misery. The police crushed the rebellion, and the man was thrown in jail. But while the government was fixing the currency, he sat in his cell, stewing in the nation's anger, and writing a manifesto called Mein Kampf. The hyperinflation eventually stopped, but the monster it created was just getting started.